Dean from D. Carson CPA, the GRL stem lines. Today we have a somewhat interesting diagram. It's just a real simple one. I like to change up the diagrams from time to time, change the way I think about things, and challenge myself to express it in a new way. It reinforces the knowledge and it creates an opportunity to take new angles to what we're working with. This is one of the HR and vendor sourcing task force lines. Just a quick slide set to put it together. We've got the economy here. We've got the people that are willing to supply and vendor and employee lines down here. We've got HR and vendor sourcing. They control the lever of the drawstring bridge, the platform for these people to cross to enter the portal of the castle, if you will, of the entity, to go into the entity, and to go down to the staff line, senior management lines, or board and director lines, depending upon where the sourcing is happening and what's going on. Down here at the bottom line is a work pool, and if you might consider, this is a superstructure of the physical and tech lines and what's going on. At the bottom of the structure is data, the substance of activities of accounts payable, accounts receivable, transactions, events, news events, situational events, rules and regs. Different things get sucked up into the organization, processing through the lines of staff, going up to C-level executives and management, going up to boards and directors. So this is the channel from the support lines up. Of course, there's another line from the top down as they interpret what's going on in the economy. So as we look at this in a different cross-section, it allows us to think of different things. Forgive us for putting a silly diagram together here, but it's useful to change perspective and to think creatively about communications and help grow our lines to communicate with you. In this situation, it's on the HR task force line, so we're thinking about, okay, HR and sourcing is in a value control mode to help the resourcing lines of vendors and team members are going to walk into the staff line, less frequently to C-level and executive lines, and then even less frequently into board and directors lines because it's a specialized subset of consulting. Nevertheless, there is the HR department, vendor sourcing, and at the top of this front pirouette stands some senior HR personnel or vendor sourcing who's delivering down kind of the guidelines, the laws, rules, and governance on the entity level, which is really corporate governance, so it's not to be confused with laws, rules, and governance, but it's entity level corporate governance. So corporate policy coming from HR, coming from vendor portals, who gets to cross the bridge, when do we drop the bridge, and when do we let them cross in. And basically that's this part of the control cycle. And the back end of the control cycle from all of these points goes over a back end regulatory line, which is about reporting and logistics. So if you consider the front is sourcing logistics to get in the people and the personnel that's needed, the back end is reporting logistics once this is all up and running, what's coming out of it and going into the policy levels and supporting audit, regs, compliance, and shareholder and stakeholder lines externally. And of course all that line has superstructure within here that's the staff lines, the entity lines, if you will. So take this entity line as the castle of an entity, how it's functioning. We'll probably work with this a little bit, but it's a first step in this different diagram. It just encourages us to think a little bit differently about how the entity is working. And anytime we think a little bit differently, there's a chance that the different cross-section might give us a different insight about how to help in problems. So as silly as it may seem, this is a line to help. I'm Dean Carson. These are the entity and cross-sector lines. Thanks.